Have you ever read a strange post on April 1st, believed it for a moment, and then found out it was only a joke? That feeling can be funny, but also a little embarrassing. The strange thing is that this happens every year to millions of people. On this one day, friends trick friends, children trick parents, companies post fake news, and even serious media sometimes joins the fun. For a short time, the world feels a little less normal. But here is the interesting part. Most people know April Fool's Day as a day for jokes, but not many people know where it came from. Why do people play tricks on April 1st and not on some other day? Why has this custom stayed alive for so many years? And why do people in many different countries still enjoy it now? In this video, we are going to follow the story of April Fool's Day from the past to the present. We will look at old celebrations, changing calendars, famous public pranks, and the different ways people enjoy this tradition today. When you look closely, the story is not simple at all. In fact, the history of April Fool's Day is full of mystery, and that makes it even more fun to explore. This is not one of those stories with one clear beginning and one easy answer. There are several ideas, several old customs, and many questions that historians still discuss. That means the Day of Jokes also has a history that is not easy to trust. Somehow that feels very fitting. As we move through the story, we will see something else too. People have changed a lot over time. We now live with phones, screens, and fast news. But one thing has stayed the same. Human beings love to laugh. We love surprise. We enjoy that small moment when something looks true and then suddenly turns into a joke. That feeling is very old. A good prank is more than a trick. It is like a tiny story. First, maybe that is one reason this tradition has stayed with us for so long. It works because it plays with the way people think and feel. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments. I would really like to hear your story. And stay with me until the end. Because some parts of this history are more surprising than many people expect. So now, the first big question is easy to ask. The truth is simple. We do not know for sure. That may sound disappointing at first, but it also makes the topic more interesting. Some holidays have a clear founder, a clear date, or a clear event behind them. April Fool's Day does not. Historians have looked at old texts, old customs, and old celebrations, but they still cannot point to one exact moment and say, this is where it started. That mystery is one reason people still enjoy talking about it today. One idea is that April Fool's Day may have some connection to old spring festivals. In many ancient cultures, spring was a time of change, joy, and new life. After a long winter, people wanted to celebrate. Some spring festivals included games, laughter, costumes, and playful behavior. Because of that, a Roman festival called Hilaria is often mentioned in this discussion. It took place in late March. During that festival, people could wear disguises, joke around, and enjoy a day of celebration. When we hear that, it sounds a little similar to the spirit of April Fool's Day. People were laughing, pretending, and stepping away from normal daily life. But there is a problem. Even if hilaria sounds similar, historians can notice a connection in mood. But that is not the same as real evidence. So this theory is possible, but it is not certain. Another idea is connected not to one festival, but to spring itself. Spring can feel surprising. One day is sunny and warm. The next day is cold and wet. Flowers appear. Rain comes suddenly. The whole season can feel playful and unstable. Some experts believe that April Fool's Day may have slowly grown from this feeling of change and surprise that comes with springtime. This idea is harder to prove, because it is not about one clear event. It is about culture and human behavior over a long time. Still, it makes sense in some ways. People often build traditions around seasons, weather, and the feelings that come with them. Then we come to the most famous explanation of all, the calendar story from France. Many people have heard a simple version of it. The story says that in the 1500s, France changed to a new calendar system, and New Year moved to January 1st. Before that, some people celebrated the New Year near the end of March or the start of April. The story says that people who continued following the old date were laughed at and called April Fools. It is a neat story, and that is probably why it became so popular. But historians are careful here. The calendar situation in Europe was complicated. Different places changed at different times, and New Year was not celebrated in exactly the same way everywhere. So the French calendar story may be part of the picture, but it is probably not the whole story. That brings us to the most likely answer. April Fool's Day probably did not come from one source only. It may have grown little by little from several things at once. Spring customs. So instead of one simple beginning, because a holiday based on confusion, what do you think sounds most believable so far? The old Roman festival, the feeling of spring, or the calendar story from France? Let me know in the comments. Now, let us move forward in time. Because even if the true beginning is unclear, the tradition becomes easier to see once we get to later Europe. By the 1600s and 1700s, April 1st had become known in different parts of Europe as a day for jokes and playful tricks. We may not know exactly how the custom started, but by this time, we can see that it was already part of real daily life. This is important, because a tradition becomes strong when ordinary people repeat it again and again. Once people begin doing something every year, in Scotland, for example, the custom became very popular. In some places, the fun even lasted for 2 days. One common prank was to send someone on a foolish errand. A person might be asked to take a message somewhere, or do a task that sounded serious. But after walking from one place to another, they would find out that the whole thing was just a trick. Sometimes the message told the next person to send the victim somewhere else. That meant the prank could continue again and again. If you imagine this in a time before phones or text messages, it becomes even funnier. The person had almost no easy way to check the truth. They had to trust the people around them. That is what made the trick work so well. In England, April 1st also became known as a day for fooling people. But there was a special rule in many places. The prank was supposed to happen before noon. If someone played a joke later in the day, then that person could be called the fool instead. Not everyone follows that rule now, but it shows something interesting. April Fool's Day was not just random bad behavior. It had its own customs, its own timing, and its own social limits. France developed one of the sweetest and most famous traditions. Children, and sometimes adults, tried to place a paper fish on another person's back without being seen. When the joke was discovered, the person could be called an April fish. In French, this is known as Poisson d'Avril. This custom is still remembered today, and it gives April Fool's Day a lighter feeling. It is not about fear or big shock. It is about quiet fun. As the custom spread through Europe, each place gave it its own local style. But the heart of the day stayed the same. For one short time, people accepted a world where things might not be exactly what they looked like. That made life feel playful and a little exciting. This may be one big reason why the tradition survived. It was easy to understand. You fool someone a little, then the truth comes out. Then everyone laughs. That simple pattern can travel very far. And later, once newspapers, radio, and television became part of daily life, April Fool's Day changed again. It became much bigger than a joke between neighbors. For a long time, most pranks were small and local. A family member played a trick at home. A friend fooled another friend. A village enjoyed a joke that only local people understood. But mass media changed that. Now, one prank could reach huge numbers of people at the same time. That is when April Fool's Day entered a new age. One of the most famous examples happened in 1957. The BBC showed a television report about spaghetti growing on trees in Switzerland. In the report, today, many viewers would laugh right away. But at that time, spaghetti was not as familiar in Britain as it is now. Because of that is what made the prank so smart. It was strange, but not too strange. It was shown in a calm, serious way, and that helped people trust it. After the program, that story is still famous now because it shows something important. People are more ready to believe a strange idea when it comes from a source that looks serious and trustworthy. Another famous prank came from Sweden in 1962. A television expert told viewers that they could make their black and white television show color if they put a nylon stocking over the screen. He explained it in a technical way. So it sounded real to many people. Of course, it was not true, but many people still tried it. It is easy to imagine families standing in front of the television, carefully stretching a stocking over the screen and hoping to see color appear. These stories are funny, but they also teach us something. A good April Fool's prank often stands very close to reality. It does not sound completely impossible. It sounds almost true. That tiny distance between truth and fiction is exactly where the joke becomes powerful. As time went on, more newspapers, radio stations, and TV channels joined the tradition. Later, big companies began to take part too. They announced fake products, silly services, or unusual ideas just for fun. Then came the internet, and everything moved even faster. Now a joke can travel around the world in minutes. A prank that begins in one country can quickly appear on phones in many others. That has made April Fool's Day more global than ever before. But it has also made the day more risky. A joke can spread far beyond the people who understand it. Some people may not know it is part of April 1st, and they may take it seriously. That is why the best pranks are clever, not mean. They should create surprise and laughter, not fear or harm. The strongest jokes leave behind a good story. They make people smile later and say, "I really believed that for a second." So if you had seen that spaghetti tree report back in 1957, do you think you would have believed it? Be honest. Now let us look at today. Because April Fool's Day is still alive in many countries, even if people celebrate it in different ways. That is one of the most interesting things about this tradition. The basic idea is simple. People joke, trick, and surprise one another. But each culture adds its own flavor. In France, the paper fish prank is still one of the best-known customs. Children often try to place a fish made from paper on someone's back without being noticed. When the trick works, it needs no big plan and no special tool. It only needs patience and good timing. Italy has a very similar tradition, which shows how customs can move between nearby places while keeping their own local identity. In the United Kingdom, many people still know the old before noon rule. Even if not everyone follows it now, the idea remains part of the culture. It gives the morning of April 1st a special feeling. People may become more careful. In the United States, the day has become closely linked with media, schools, offices, and online culture. Friends still play small jokes, but companies and websites also join in with fake announcements or strange new products. Part of the fun is trying to decide what is real and what is not. In India, too, many people know the tradition well, especially younger people and people who spend time online. Social media has helped spread April Fool's Day far beyond the places where it first became famous. But that also creates a problem. A joke that is easy to understand in one country may not work well in another. Sometimes humor depends on culture, timing, and local habits. That is why context matters. It is also important to remember that not every country uses April 1st for this kind of fun. In Spain and in much of Latin America, a similar spirit of joking is often connected to the Day of the Holy Innocents in December. So the idea of playful tricking exists in different places, but not always on the same date. That tells us something bigger. The wish to laugh. For one day. So what about where you live? Is April Fool's Day a big thing, or is it mostly quiet? Tell me about it in the comments. Now we come to the final question. Why does April Fool's Day still matter today? At first, it may seem like a very small tradition, just jokes, small tricks, and people laughing for a few minutes. But if we look more carefully, one important reason is trust. In normal life, people trust many things. We trust friends, family, teachers, news sources, and information on our screens. Without trust, everyday life would be much harder. We would question every message, every word, and every situation. A prank works because it uses that normal trust for a short moment. Someone tells a story that sounds believable. Another person accepts it. Then the truth appears, and the mind suddenly changes direction. That moment is powerful. Our brains like patterns. We often believe things quickly when they sound familiar or logical. A strong April Fool's joke usually does not sound wild or impossible. It sounds almost real. That is why it can fool us. Then comes the change. First surprise, then understanding, then laughter. This is one reason humor feels so good. But April Fool's Day also reminds us that not every joke is a good one. If a prank causes fear, deep embarrassment, or real harm, then it stops being fun. The best pranks are playful. They are kind enough that people can laugh afterward, even if they feel a little silly at first. A good joke gives people a story to tell later. That idea is even more important now, because information moves very quickly. A fake message online can spread fast and confuse many people. For that reason, April Fool's Day can also teach us something useful. It reminds us not to believe everything right away. It teaches us to pause, think, and look more carefully. In that sense, this funny tradition can also help us practice critical thinking. And there is one more reason the day still matters. It gives people time to play. Adults are often busy and serious. Life can feel heavy. A good joke can break routine, lower stress, and bring people closer. Children need play, but adults need it too. For one day, so perhaps April Fool's Day is not only about being foolish. Maybe it stays with us because it mixes laughter, trust, surprise, and connection in a way that still feels important. Its true beginning may remain unclear. Its customs may change from place to place. Its jokes may now travel through phones instead of village streets. But the heart of it is still easy to understand. People enjoy that brief moment when the world seems one way, then suddenly turns another way, and everyone laughs. That small human moment has crossed centuries, and maybe that is the real reason April Fool's Day never quite disappears. So next time April 1st arrives, and you see a strange headline, a weird message, or a friend smiling too much, take a second before you believe it. You may be stepping into a tradition with a long, mixed, and very curious history. And now I want to hear from you one more time. Do you think April Fool's Day is only for fun? Or do you think it also teaches us something about people and the way we think? Share your idea in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, stay with the channel for more videos about history, culture, and the strange traditions that still shape our world today.